Hello and welcome back to Heart of Amethyst. We will be continuing where we left off on Ikalis' route. But first, channel members. Ooh, look, you guys are at the beginning of the video now. Woo, I said that I was gonna do it and I finally did it. But yeah, anyways, so Ikalis. So I believe that he was the one that takes you to the library where you end up meeting his uncle who's kind of stuck up. But some cool stuff happens in the library. There was some magic stuff involved where you can get the books automatically or something. You were also researching some funny books that I guess Ikalis was also reading. I don't really remember much of what happened because it was a while ago. I believe something kind of, well, not spooky, but something weird happened where Ehlly was hearing voices, I think, and Ikalis had to calm him down. I think that was the extent of what happened. Other than that, I believe that we are about to go to the ball, the royal ball, next. So yeah. Anyway, so I suppose without further ado, let us continue Ikalis' route. Chapter 3, The Royal Ball. It was a little past midnight and the streets were getting cold by the minute. Not long ago, a few little droplets of water started falling from the sky, meaning that he had to hurry to his destination if he didn't want to get drenched. Something that he personally hated, as his fur tended to get messy when wet. Besides, going through all the trouble of finding this idiot was infuriating enough to him. And he wouldn't be there if it weren't for the fact that their boss herself sent him a letter requesting him to meet up with his partner, changing his plans for the day completely as he just wanted to enjoy the rest of his day in peace. Still, he's not even a little happy about walking through the streets this late at night. Sometimes, he just wishes that he could throw all this other life away and just live as a pastor. But there's always a new job to do, and even if he wants to, there is no way of refusing. So, for the time being, he'll just suck it up and continue walking. Eventually, he catches sight of that awful tavern. And, if there is something that he knows about his partner, it's that he never misses a chance to go to that dirty establishment. Talking about dirty, the dog feels the ever so familiar feeling of poop on his shoe as soon as he entered the alleyway. Turns out he just stepped in a huge pile of horse dung. Fantastic. Simply fantastic. I could be drinking a glass of wine by now. But no, my night had to be ruined. Why can't I have nice things? He complains as he imagines himself drinking and partying in the high castle with the rest of the aristocracy. After all, he had been invited to the prince's birthday ball, and he had been looking forward to it for months. It would be his first time being inside those fancy halls, eating that marvelous food and talking with actually decent company. His efforts, at long last, had been acknowledged. But things never go his way, do they? And that's why the dog was in such a bad mood tonight. Anyways, he wipes the poop off his shoe as best as he can before opening the door to the bar and entering. Upon entering the establishment, he could immediately smell the scent of alcohol and male sweat. He looks around to try and find his partner, but all he sees are disgusting drunks who are partying, flirting, kissing, and some are getting handsy. Truly a sight not for someone with his high standards. But he'll just have to stick with it and pretend that he doesn't mind. Same thing he's been doing since the day he was born. So with a steel resolve and the fakest of smiles, he greets the bartender, who in turn greets him with his own polite smile. Hiya, pal. What can I serve you? Nothing of the sort, my soon friend. I'm afraid that I must refrain from drinking for the time being. Actually, I am here looking for someone. Have you by any chance heard about a man named Pro? Pro? As in big scary guy with huge muscles who comes here often and has fucked half of my clientele, Pro? The dog rolls his eyes at the nasty response of the bartender. Although he knows this to be very true, Pro has always been a pig. And to make it even worse, ever since they got those good-paying jobs, Pro has been out of control, spending most of his money and free time drinking and fucking. In any case, he fixes his face and smiles again, nodding at the bartender. I am sure that it's him, yes. Have you, seen him tonight? I sure have, but I don't think it's a good idea to disturb him right now. He might be a little busy. I appreciate your concern, but this is a really important matter and it can't wait. So could you please point me to where he is? Sure, buddy. Third private room to the left, after you climb those stairs. Can't miss it. The bartender points towards the back of the establishment, where a flight of stairs can be seen just up past a few drunks. Much appreciated. Now if you'll excuse me. The dog tries to act nicely, but now that he knows what he wants, there is no need to waste any more time. So before the other man can say anything else, he moves away from the counter and into the dark hall that leads to the staircase, climbing them in just a few steps as he was in a hurry. Every single inch of this place smells like men, but the closer he gets to these private rooms, the sweatier the scent becomes. And given the moans and slapping coming out of the rooms, the dog can already imagine the reason why it smells like that. Still, he really had no time to waste, so not caring about the whole situation, he carried forward. The hall of the second floor was darker than the bar itself, only a few candles lighting the place. So trying to find the right door was a hassle. Luckily for him, a ray of light illuminated the big number 3 painted on the door. Which means that, according to the bartender, this is the room where Crow is. I hope that idiot at least has some pants on. The dog says to himself as he grabs the handle and turns it, opening the door slowly. But when he finally pops his head through the gap, the scene inside the room surprises him. The following scene consists of very explicit sex material. If you're either a YouTuber, me, streamer, or you just don't enjoy this type of content, I recommend that you skip it. Skip it? Yes. With his face still a little red from the previous interaction, the dog leaned on the dirty wall and waits for the two men inside to get decent. He couldn't take the image of Crow's impressive backside off of his head. It's not like he hasn't seen it before. They've been partners for a very long time. But this is the first time that he has witnessed the Malamute with another man, and the dog never imagined that Crow would be so rough in the act. Well, he has imagined it, but those thoughts died many years ago. After all, he had work to do, and this incident was nothing but a mere distraction. A few moments pass, and then the Dalmatian exited the room. Their eyes met for a split second, but the smaller dog ducked his head in shame and walked away in a hurry. The priest took this as his cue to enter, but before he could open the door, Crow exited the room and signaled him to go downstairs. Let's go get a table, Snake. Up here really isn't the best place to have a serious talk. Ugh. He hated when people use his real name. And when he says people, he means Crow, since he's the only one that currently knows it. And ever since they left the orphanage, he's the only one who's called him that. Fine. The smaller dog said with his cheeks still fully red as they went downstairs to pick a table. Once there, Crow nervously smiled to his boss, fidgeting with his hands like the little kid that he is. Snake saw this and rolled his eyes, ready to just turn the page and forget what he just saw. If you're going to apologize about it earlier, save it. I don't care what you do with your money and your spare time. Besides, we're here to talk about business, aren't we? Yes, boss. Good, then let's start. Sure, what's so important? To be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I received a letter not too long ago. A letter? From who? It was from the Lady Priestess. According to her, there is an important subject for us to discuss, so she asked me to find you and then meet up with her. Apparently, she wishes to talk to both of us, but as I've said, I don't know the reason. Could be anything then. Maybe she just wants to congratulate us for a job well done? You know? The Malamute said as he noticed how worried the other dog looked. Crow knows his boss, and he has always been an overthinker. He's most likely worried sick about this whole situation. So he kinda takes it as his responsibility to ease him up, at least when he can. And why would she do that? I don't know. The bigger dog just shrugs, and Snake can't help but sigh at him. He's always been an idiot, but at this point it doesn't surprise him anymore. In any case, we should get going. We're already late and I don't want to piss her off. Yeah, I getcha. She scares me. She sometimes doesn't look alive at all. It's as if she's just a ghost, you know. Gentlemen, I hope that I am not interrupting. The two men turn around towards the voice of a woman, looking confused as to why she's talking to them. At first, Snake gave it no importance. After all, this was a bar, so being talked to was expected. But that's when he remembered the kind of bar that they were in, and that's when it hit him. He recognized that voice. She was... My Lady Priestess! Snake immediately lowered his head, bowing in front of the woman, who was one of the highest-ranking members of the church. Crow, on the other hand, was looking as confused as always. What's going on? The idiot asked, but Snake didn't even give him a second to process the situation because he grabbed the other male by the scruff and forced him to bow too. My lady, please forgive me. I must have taken too long to fetch him. Yes, indeed you did. I thought that I was clear in my letter. Yes. Enough. I don't care about your excuses. Please save them. We have much to discuss and I wish not to waste my time furthermore. Of course. Let's get out of here then. No, we're already here, so I might as well give you two the message. Snake and Crow sat back down in their chairs waiting for the woman to move to their table, something that she never did, as she just remained on the other side of the curtains. You two remember one of your missions from night 10 years ago? My lady, Oh, but he did. He knew pretty well what night she was referring to, because it was a night that almost cost them their futures. It was their biggest screw-up, and they both knew it. So, too, if she was mentioning it now, it meant that they were most likely in deep trouble. After your mission had concluded, you two assured the council that the pendant that you brought was the only Amethyst relic in the house. You also assured them that there was no further survivors, including the little boy. Ehlly, son of Hilda, lied dead on the forest floor. Am I right? Yes, of course. I killed him myself. I stabbed him through the heart, I did. Are you certain? Yeah? He sounded nervous now, although he was almost 100% sure that that little boy could not have lived that. Well, certain as you may be, I must inform you both that the boy is very much alive. And lately he's been seen poking his nose where he shouldn't. No, that's impossible. I know I killed him. I saw it, I swear. The church has been tracking down the boy for a while. You have? Crow spoke. His voice was a little shaky, which showed how scared he was. Still, his curiosity got the best of him, and he wanted to know why they hadn't been punished yet. Yes, for a while now, ever since that failed regicide a month ago. So the church knew all along. Snake couldn't help but wonder how much they didn't actually know. There were reports of a young white fox with purple marks on his body, so of course we had to confirm it for ourselves. Now imagine our surprise when the informant guaranteed us that the boy was indeed Ehlly. Not even the council knew what to do. We didn't know, my lady, we swear. Of course you didn't know. Nobody did. Luckily for you, the council has already made a plan to deal with this irregularity. Just say the word and the little bastard is dead. The woman sighed, and even when they could see her face, they can hear the disappointment in her voice. As I was saying, the presence of this boy is an unexpected anomaly. But as unexpected as it may be, this also is a great opportunity that we can't afford to lose. Opportunity? 10 years ago, you two failed in recovering the heart of Amethyst, and to make it all worse, you killed the only one who might have known where it was. Now, this person turned out to be alive. That's why our organization can't afford to lose this chance, can we? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. The two men said it without hesitation, as they knew that if they disobeyed or asked too many questions, their lives could be in danger. The next following days are very important, so you must stand by and be ready for anything. Did I make myself clear? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Our plan has already been set in motion. In the following days, you two will be given further instructions. I hope that you don't disappoint, for both of your sakes. With that threat floating in the air, the woman vanished in the shadows, leaving them with a heavy heart. They didn't speak a word or even muster a sound. They just knew. They knew. They ought to be ready for what's coming. I'm feeling rather tired as we begin to walk towards the royal castle. The thought of that shadow keeps making me nervous, as if I'm still being watched. Aside from that, the seriousness of my situation has drained my strength more than I anticipated. I mean, suddenly I find out that my sister could be involved in a complicated religious dispute. Ikalis tried to calm me down by reassuring me that I would be safe besides the king, but I can't help but feel that even himself doesn't believe that. I'm sure that he must be aware of the dangerous situation that we've put ourselves in. After all, it's a church that we're talking about. They're a huge deal. So if we start poking the wasp's nest, there is no turning back. In any case, that doesn't stop us from making haste towards the castle, taking us less than 30 minutes to get there. Once we made it there, I'm immediately astonished by the beauty of the structure in front of me. It's so big that it might as well be touching the sky, giving the building an air of grandeur. At the same time, every single corner of the castle seems very well taken care of. There is not a single spot or stain in any of its walls. The metallic inscriptions and decorations shine like pearls. All the banners hanging from it have not been shredded in any sort of way, and the marble statue that decorates the center of the garden ends the whole display on a high note. Simply a work of art that cannot be compared to anything I've seen before, not even the castle back in Rose Island. I assume you are impressed. How can I not be? This place is beautiful. It was built hundreds of years ago, as the dusk of the First Great War drew near. Built by the hands of our inexperienced canine ancestors, it has been remodeled and rebuilt at least 5 times. It looks almost new. Well, it's fairly new. This new model was designed by the first Grand Master 300 years ago. After the Second Great War, correct? Yes, correct. I see our lessons have not gone in vain. As if you could let me forget any of it with your constant tests. He chuckles at that and then looks at me with a kind smile. Since you're so tired of my classes, you should use this week as a break then. You've earned it. That last part caught my attention. Week? What do you mean? I thought we were only staying the night. Oh, you didn't know? The king decided to stay for a week. He told me he had some business to take care of, and he needed us nearby. Weird. He never mentioned any of it to me. Why do you think that is? Your guess is as good as mine. The king doesn't strike me as the kind of man that would just forget about stuff like this. Could he be hiding something from me? Why though? What's his game? In any case, I decide not to dwell on it as I follow Ikalis into the castle. By the way, Ikalis startles me as it's not usually him who starts the conversations. Have you ever attended any big celebrations such as this? Not really, no. You can imagine since you know about my upbringing. Yeah, sure. I just didn't want to make assumptions. That's a good point. Maybe I should put that into practice, as I tend to jump to conclusions very easily. Well, have you? Yes, a few. They are not really that big of a deal, just a bunch of people pretending to like each other while playing the game. Game? Bureaucracy is like a game. You must decide on your moves carefully or else you might find yourself at a disadvantage. Who you talk to, your way of dressing, the way you speak, etc. You need to take all of these variables into consideration. So, any recommendations, Mr. Player? Just keep your wits with you and don't trust anybody. Only in the rare cases in which you are of some use to them, people will show interest in you. Ikalis' words resonate within me, making me fear a little what's to come. I don't get much time to dwell on them though, as we come close to a big crowd that has formed in front of the main entrance. All of these people look really important and fancy, making me feel really out of place among them. Ikalis guides me to an entrance farthest away from the main one, in which a wolf knight is standing guard. Identify yourselves. The guard's rough tone of voice made me jump in place, but luckily Ikalis kept his composure and he was able to speak to the man. My companion and I are the king's retainers. We were tasked to be here at this hour. If you may ask one of your superiors, you shall see that we speak the truth. The wolf eyes us up and down, trying to guess if what Ikalis is saying is true or not. But before the man can speak again, a very weak voice interrupts the conversation. Yes, let them through, please. To my delight, a known face makes his appearance from behind the big guard. The small dog seems as nervous as always, but he manages to spare a smile as he sees me. Very well, this way please. The guard opens a wooden door that leads to a dark hallway, illuminated only by a few candles. You must go on your own, Ehlly. I have to go change into more appropriate attires, and my tailor must be waiting for me somewhere else. I'll see you inside. I nod to that, and then enter the hallway, waving my hand to him before the door closes. Before I can muster a word, I get dragged through the endless corridor within the castle. This is far darker than I expected, making me feel a little nervous. Zack explains that we are beneath the main halls, some sort of secret passage, that according to him are not really secret at all. And what are these used for? Mostly for moving around. The servants in the main castle have many tasks to perform daily, so these help with getting from one place to another more effectively. Although you may need to learn the layout first. Goddesses know that I got lost so many times as a rookie. You used to work here? Yes, I was adopted by the royal family when I was just a baby. I was an orphan and they, raised me to be what I am. I owe them a lot. So you've been working as a butler since you were a kid? Not that you're not a kid now. I mean, even younger. Yeah, since I was 5. Aw, I would pay to see you in your cute little butler outfit. You must have been such a cute kid. Zach refrains from saying something. Instead, he just whines like a little puppy, his cheeks burning bright red even through the darkness of the hallway. In any case, the conversation dies there as we reach a changing room, which, according to Zach, we will use to get me into my party attire. The place is not very spacious, but I don't get much time to explore as the little butler insists for me to get on my underwear. I'm about to make a dirty joke about that, but he seems in a hurry, so I refrain from it. I do as he says and strip my dirty clothes, dropping them on the ground. He then proceeds to spray me with a heavy-smelling cologne that almost drowns me. The scent is so strong that I swear that it made me tear up. But before I can catch my breath, he puts layer after layer of clothes on top of me, each more tight than the previous one. Master, please stay still. I need to button this. Buddy, if you do that, I might suffocate. And I wish I were joking, but I am not. This gotta be the most uncomfortable attire that I've ever worn. Like, seriously, who would put this on willingly? We're almost done. Please be patient. Just get it over with, buddy. Yes, just one last strap and... He tightens the last piece of clothing around my back and my chest, and I promised you I heard my ribs cracking. There, all done. You're looking dashing, sir. I can't breathe. After suffering through that, I exited the room and headed towards the main hall. Zach left my side before I made it to the door. He told me that he wasn't allowed there, as only the top butlers and maids were able to serve in big parties. Makes sense. After all, he's just an apprentice. So I said my goodbyes to him with a hug and left him be. Goddesses know the poor kid must be super busy. Now back to the present. I'm standing in front of the door to the main hall, which is enormous. Almost as big as a 3-story house. I wait in front of it for a few seconds before I notice that the guests are not actually entering through the door, but rather a smaller side door to the right. I wonder why you'd even build such a big door. I mean, if you're not gonna use it, why put it here in the first place? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, so not wishing to waste any more time, I move in line with the rest of them. By the door, there is a fancy-looking Samoyed butler picking up invitations. And as I notice that I don't have one of those, I start to panic. I have no invitation. I was never given one. What am I supposed to do? Do I try to find one of the others? Or is there another entrance for the retainers? My mind starts to race, but before I can do something about it, I find myself in front of the line. A very tired Samoyed looking down at me. Invitation? He coldly says, extending his hand towards me. I don't have one, sir. He lifts his eyebrow at me and then sighs. Name? Ehlly? Ehlly Biscotti? Sir Biscotti, come in. King's retainers don't need an invitation. I hear some murmurs behind me, people talking about what's taking so long and criticizing me for wasting their time. I try to give them no importance, but they start to bluntly say some nasty things. So the rumors were true. Yes, he's a commoner that almost killed the king. What is this world coming to? A nasty commoner like him walking on these grounds? I've heard that all the king retainers are freaks like him. What is that man thinking? That old man is totally losing it. We need the prince to step up and quick. I don't want to accept it, but I feel crushed under the avalanche of negative comments coming my way. I turn around trying to find the ones who said those things, but I'm only met with hateful expressions and judging gazes. Sir, please move along. The butler placed his hand on my shoulder and kindly directed me into the main hall. I can still feel their gaze is glued to the back of my head. Those eyes who silently tell me, you don't belong here. I still remember the feeling of entering a throne room for the first time. Places designed with the sole purpose of making everyone feel insignificant, except for the one sitting on the silver chair. Well, I can take that feeling and shove it up my ass. This place is twice as big and 10 times fancier than the throne room back in Laguna Castle. The walls seem to be made out of white gold and jewels. And as you walk, you get the feeling of stepping on diamonds as the tiles shine as if you look up, you'll be met by beautiful paintings splattered all over the ceiling, which is being held by many rows of chiseled pillars carved to perfection by the artists. Finally, my attention is drawn to the end of the room, where an enormous golden statue guards the throne in which currently no one is sitting. I move around the room trying to remain close to the walls as I don't want to get swallowed by the sea of people. They are all nobles of different races and backgrounds. Some of them are dancing to the music of the orchestra, but most are engaging in lively conversation. And of course, there are some loners like myself, just standing around and looking in the direction of the crowd. Now, here's when I ask myself, what should I do? All I can think about is how not to embarrass myself again. Maybe I could try dancing, although it looks a little complicated for me. Or I could try socializing with the royals, but I honestly don't think that I have anything in common with them. There is always the option to go get a snack. I'm feeling quite hungry after all. My mind races as I try to decide on what to do, going through the many different outcomes and possibilities. And most of them end in a very bad note. Even my awkward self is bound to be able to strike a conversation, right? I mean, it's not like these people are aliens, even if it sometimes feels like it. In any case, I decide to scan the area, see if I can spot anyone worth talking to. Some of the royals are dancing around, surrounded by a crowd. I decide not to go there, since I am not currently looking for a dance partner. Instead, I walk near a group of people who are chatting with one another by the corners of the room. As I reach them, I put on the best fake smile that I can muster and then call their attention. They turn around to look at me and I say, "Hello." I decide to introduce myself, but before I can finish, all of them laugh at me and stare me down with their judgy eyes. That is more than enough for my cheeks to turn crimson red. So I walk away from the group, not wanting to give those assholes another reason to mock me. I then try a few more times with another 3 different groups, all of them bearing similar results. I sigh in desperation, pressing my back against the wall. Why did I expect it to go any different? I'm clearly not like these people. I don't belong amongst them, and they don't mince their words about it. Not like I want to be like them anyway. I shouldn't have gotten my hopes up. That was just stupid of me. Well, no use staying here, I guess. I'll just step outside and wait for the king. If he needs me, I'm sure that he'll send someone to look for me. I really need to take a breather. After being the subject of constant humiliation, I decide to take some fresh air. The sky looks beautiful tonight and the cold night breeze feels refreshing against my fur. It would be a waste to be stuck inside the castle with those royals. I sigh again, feeling utterly defeated, the glass of wine that I never drank still in my hand. So, if we close the gap between the crystals and then divide it by 2, then maybe, just maybe... I hear some whispering in the distance, barely loud enough for me to understand what they're saying. So I can't help but wonder who I might be, since most of the guests are inside the main hall. Curiosity takes over me and I decide to scan my surroundings, paying close attention to where the whispers are coming from. The darkness is not a big deal as the moon is full tonight, so the garden is well lit. Besides, there are not many places to hide in here. Eventually, I found a strange-looking woman sitting on a stone bench. She has been talking to herself while holding a pen and a small book on her hand. I ponder for a few seconds if it's any good to interrupt her, but I'm curious to know what she's up to. So I approach her, slowly trying not to startle her, as she seems really focused in what she's doing. Uh, hey, how are you? I say casually, but she doesn't even bat an eye towards me. The girl just continues to aggressively write on the paper. She seems to be in some sort of trance. Maybe she's been cursed. What if a spirit took a liking to her now and is forcing her to scribble for the rest of eternity? I chuckle at my own ideas, walking around her and placing myself in front of her. From here, I can kind of see what she's noting down. It's some sort of mathematical formulas and drawings of crystals. How strange. I wonder if she's a researcher of some sort. You spoke to me, yes? She suddenly blurts out, making me jump a little. The lady looks at me through those big glasses of hers, never stopping her writing. Yeah, I did. Nice to meet. Specimen number 35. That shall be your name. Excuse me? I see. Just like the previous 34 specimens, they don't react eagerly to their new given name. Could that really be bad manners like specimen 19 explained? I must dig deeper into this manners term. The woman writes down something on her book, then she stands up from the bench. She keeps her eyes glued to me, inspecting me from top to bottom, as if I were some sort of strange creature. And this is the moment when I question my life choices. What was I thinking by approaching this weirdo? Would you consider yourself a male? Huh? I mean, yeah? I see. Fascinating. The subject seems to be confused about something as crucial as gender. Could this be a situation that happens to others? Further investigation required. No, wait, I am a guy. But what sort of question is that? The subject appears to be in a state of distress. He's sweating, his heartbeat is elevated, and he raised his voice even though I'm standing close to him. Oh gosh, this woman is unnerving. Next question, subject 35. Do you identify as a canine? I guess I better answer her without doubting, or else she's going to make a whole deal out of it. Yes, I identify as a fox. Interesting. And as a canine, have you ever felt the need to pee around your territory, eat raw flesh, and leave bite marks on your romantic interest? What do you take me for? I'm not an animal. Although that last part. I see. So, would you consider that you've outgrown your primal instincts in favor of a more civilized way of living? Yeah, sure, I did. Damn, I really hope this girl shares with me what she's been smoking because it looks like a trip. Still, that begs the question. Did we evolve to think like this, or were we engineered by a bigger force to be the way we are? Actually, among all the nonsense, that's a good question. Why are we different from the dog, foxes, or wolves that live in the wild? According to the church, we were created differently from the rest of them, but what if that's not true? I mean, there are no other theories. What else could it be then? No, wait, hold up. I'm letting myself get dragged into this craziness. Alright, wait, slow down please. So hey, kinda wondering, what's this all about? The girl looks at me confused, as if she doesn't understand my language all of a sudden. Merely an experiment. She comments as if this was the most normal thing in the world. Well, what's the investigation about? The girl places a hand on her chin and ponders for a moment before answering. Well, it started as an investigation about social interactions and canine behavior. But as soon as I grew tired of that, I decided to start a new investigation about the male species. Although it has been mostly fruitless, as all my specimens run away after the second or third question. I honestly can't blame those guys. And what's your name? Ah, yes. That is also part of the social code, isn't it? That is one of the conclusions I have arrived at my first investigation. My name is Petra. Nice to meet you. Well, this is the first normal thing that she said since this whole interaction started. Guess we're making progress. Nice to meet you, Petra. My name is Ehlly. Yes, I know many things about you, Specimen 35. My father has filled me in on the details. He has said that you're rude, uneducated, petulant, and apparently you have a bad smell. She leans closer and takes a quick whiff at me. Could it be that my sources of information was wrong? Your smell is not disgusting to me. Perhaps it has to do with the variables of the experiment. Subject 35, run 100 laps around the garden and then come back to me for a new inspection. How about we leave that experiment for another time, yeah? If you insist, we shall make a new appointment. Thank the goddesses. By the way, you mentioned your father. Do I know him? Now that I think about it, Petra looks like someone that I know. But who? As she's about to answer, a rustle in the nearby bushes calls our attention, and then we hear some steps approaching from somewhere. Once I turn around, I am met with none other than Ikalis himself. So, it was you yelling. I was wondering what that was all about. The wolf approaches us wearing a very fancy-looking suit, which fits him nicely. He looks elegant and important at the same time. What's with the big bow? Although I guess that's to be expected from the Grand Master. Yo, where you been? Just busy, talking to some of the guests. What are you doing out here anyway? Before I can answer his question, Ikalis has noticed the person behind me. His expression goes from curiosity to mild annoyance, and then it returns to his usual poker face. Petra, what a surprise. Hiya, cuz. Long time no see. Cuz? So this means... Of course. How didn't I notice this before? She's a splitting image of Ikalis and his uncle. That jerk that I met at the library earlier today. Wait. If that's true, then it means that that asshole told her all those things about me. What brings you here? I was just conducting an experiment with my subject here present. Petra points and Ikalis lifts a brow at me. I rub the back of my head and give the wolf an awkward smile. He seems to understand that I'll explain later and decides to move away from this topic. So, how is your investigation with the polygonal crystals going? Any breakthroughs? Most definitely. I've made some amazing discoveries. But I'll have to hold my tongue on this one, cuz Dad told me not to mention it to anyone until we made the official announcement. Ah, I see. So your investigation is ready to be published, I suppose. Cunning as always, Ikalis manages to get information out of her without even trying. The girl covers her mouth and then looks down. Ah, dang it. I messed up again. Anyway, you really should go back to the ball, Petra. The main event is about to start. You might be right. After all, I am required to be here. Very well, I'll go. Cuz. Test subject 35. Petra closes her notes and walks past us, taking a turn to the right as she reaches a crossroads. The thing is, the main hall is to the left. Did she do that on purpose? Heavens, she never changes. I must admit, she's way weirder than you, and that's saying a lot. I joke, but Ikalis doesn't laugh at that. Maybe it's not the right time. She's a great investigator, but she gets lost in her own world too often for her own good. Is she really that big of a deal? Her work is actually impressive. My uncle thinks that I don't know, but I know. She lets it slip from time to time. What's her investigation about? Well, I guess there is no harm in telling you. So, she's been investigating for the past few years the properties of quartz and their possible use in magic manipulation. You see, it's been discovered recently that some of these crystals have a minor resonance with Krim. Rubies, for example, can store an excessive amount of Krim, which upon its release burns at a high temperature, creating fire. So what you're trying to say is that rocks can explode now? No, it's not like that. How do I explain this? Imagine the moon. How do you propose it shines its light upon us? I have no idea. Well, astrologers have discovered that the moon is actually a big rock in space. To put it in simpler words for you, and that rock is capable of channeling that energy that the sun gives it and then shines it back at us. But the moon doesn't store the energy, it just reflects it. That also happens with certain quartz. They reflect the Krim. But in a hypothetical case, if we discover a crystal which is stable enough to store Krim within it, the possibilities are endless. We could store infinite amount of energy. The wolf places his hands on his chin and looks away, lost in thought. I mean, it sounds like a fairy tale to me. It may not be. And that is worrisome. Could be the last straw that she needs to take away my position as the Grand Master. Goddesses know, if she were to be the Grand Master, it would be all turned upside down. Wait, she has a right to become the Grand Master? I thought that spot is yours by law. It technically is, but if the Grand Master is deemed incompetent by the bookkeepers, they can hold a vote to pass the mantle to the next candidate of the family. In that case, it would be her, and not my uncle, since the title already skipped his generation. Although to be honest, if she becomes the Grand Master, I know very well that my uncle would assume all of the responsibilities and do all the work for her. So pretty much she would only be his puppet. Well, in a way. But she's always been, so nothing would change. Silence falls upon us all of a sudden. Ikalis seems to be conflicted about something, but I am not sure that I should ask him. After all, this is family business, and I don't want to intrude in his life. Ask if he's okay. Are you okay, buddy? Huh? The wolf barely acknowledges what I said as he's been staring at thin air this whole time. An address for your thoughts? It's nothing really. I'm a bit worried. Petra may be a little over her head, but she's already published 2 different investigations about the flow of magic. Meanwhile, I haven't posted nothing that I can call my own. I've only aided with other investigations, and my own personal one has been stuck for a few years. The wolf seems legitimately concerned about this matter. I feel really bad about him. I may not get it entirely, but I'm sure that he must have his reasons to worry about his position being questioned. So I place my hand on his shoulder and try to muster a warm smile to try and cheer him up. Hey, for all I know, you're the smartest person in this entire castle. Don't give up so easily. I know you'll find a solution. Besides, you've got the king's support, right? That seems to brighten up his mood. The wolf's cheeks turn a little red as he looks away bashfully. Let's not waste any more time. I'm sure the king must be waiting. The wolf's behavior returns to normal, which means that he's back to his usual poker face. Want to go back together then? He shakes his head in denial as he crosses his arms. No, sorry. I have to decline. I must meet with some of the bookkeepers before the main event starts. You, on the other hand, should not leave the main hall anymore. You're needed there. He scolds me as if I were a mere kid who didn't know what he's doing. And in a sense, he's right, but he doesn't have to put it that way. Yeah, I'll go back, don't worry. He smirks back at me, relaxing a little when he hears me goofing off. Good. At least you do know how to listen. Good boy. He turns around and then waves his hand back at me, leaving my side as he walks towards the main hall. I watch him vanish into the sea of people. I'm still a little worried about his reaction, but there's really no time for that now. There are many things that I gotta worry about. And one of them is to find my way back to that ball. To be continued. Just for this update, the new codex content can be viewed here. I need to fix that. Oh wow, that was a lot of writing. I'm exhausted. But it was totally worth it though, as we finally got to see some very important characters for the story to come. Talking about those, did you like them? What are your thoughts on the newcomers? They each have an important role in the story. You'll just have to wait and find out. On another note, this is the first update in which the new sprites are implemented. Took me a while to make them and program them, but I like them. They look a lot more like I had envisioned them when I started writing Heart of Amethyst. In any case, I'm really happy to be working on this project again. I had forgotten how good it feels to see my boys in action. I'm really sorry for taking so long, and I'll try my hardest to not let it happen again. Thank you so much for all the patience. Especially to my Patreons, who continue supporting me even though the updates and news were very scarce. You guys are the best. Anyway, I've talked long enough and there's nothing much to say anymore. Hee. So as always, here's my Patreon if you want to support me. There, and here's my Twitter in case you want to follow my social media. Don't forget to rate this project 5 stars on itch.io if you haven't yet. Have an amazing day and a great week. Love you all. See you next time. So, that was Ikalis' update. So, we got to meet some new characters, at the very least 3 in person and then 1 extra. So for the first 3, we met Snake and the Malamute. So if you already read, well, no, I don't want to bring up the current updates for the other 2, but oh wow, it's windy outside. You have already met the Australian Shepherd and the Malamute because they were in the previous updates for Roderick and Almond, I believe. Yeah. So you can already probably guess that they were the ones that tried to kill Ehlly and that tried to steal the Heart of Amethyst, which mysteriously disappeared, but that did successfully end up killing Ehlly's mom and probably kidnapped the sister, maybe? Who knows? And then we were introduced, not really, to the High Priestess, who basically is signaling that the church is involved with whatever it is that's happening. So, you know, corrupt church, what's new? And it seems that they will probably end up trying to kidnap Ehlly. I mean, they kind of need to grill him for the information about where the Heart of Amethyst is. And it kind of seems that the only way that they can do that is basically by kidnapping him. So, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. Then we ended up eventually meeting Ikalis' cousin, Petra, or Petra, depending on, you know, how Jaden meant it to be sounded out. And she apparently appears to be very, very smart, just like Ikalis, but she doesn't appear to have the social skills necessary to carry on a normal conversation with people. So while she might be interesting to talk to, that interest will probably wane after a while. Uh, so, like, yeah, she's smart. She's probably smarter than Ikalis. But is she really somebody that you want as the Grand Master? Because, I mean, like, you know, she might be a little off-putting because apparently 34 people, decided to not stick around and talk to her. Maybe she's a little autistic. Has a little bit of the tism. She misses social cues and stuff. What else? Clearly, these things, though, the fact that she is smarter, she has published 2 books or 2 investigations. I guess you could say that she's published 2. How do you call it in academic circles? Where 2 articles? She's published 2 articles. And Ikalis has not posted anything, so like his position is threatened, and clearly his uncle wants that to happen. And things are bad for Ikalis, at least academically, and social status and all that other stuff. Probably all the good things that come from being the Grand Master, and if he loses that, for him it's probably like losing the world, his job, and everything. He's still the retainer, but like, if he's no longer the Grand Master, what incentive is there for the king to keep him around? Anyways, so yeah. So what are your thoughts? Write it down in the comments section. We'll discuss, and thank you all for watching / listening. If you would like to play the Heart of Amethyst yourself, you can do so by going down into the link in the description for Jaden's Twitter page, which should have a direct link for the HIO page where you can download it and play it. Or you can just go to HIO yourself and, download it from there. And I will also be posting down a link for his Patreon in case you want to support the project and get early access to builds of Heart of Amethyst, or get access to some spicy content that he has drawn in the past and might get back to drawing. I don't know. You'll just have to see. So yeah, if you want to do that, go to his Patreon, support him, do it. And yeah, so, all pertinent links will be down in the description, as always. And I guess that's it for now, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.